Will plays a Ketria Triome tapped. Jeff plays a Geothermal Crevice tapped. I keep it going with the Rogran Triome. David plays a Forest, and he gets the turn 1 Soul Ring. Will shocks in a Steam Vents, then he'll tap out for an Arcane Signet, and pass from there. Jeff plays an Arid Mesa, he cracks it to fetch up Zeotor's Proving Ground. I shock in a Steam Vents, then I cast Talisman of Progress and pass. David plays Sulphur Springs and pass with 4 mana up. Will plays Scalding Tarn, he cracks it and fetches a Stomping Ground into play tapped. Jeff plays Yavimaya Crater of Growth, then he sacrifices Geothermal Crevice for Golgari mana. After that, he'll cast his commander Soul of Windgrace. On ETB, he returns the Geothermal Crevice to play tapped. I'll play a Slayer Stronghold, then I cast one of the best cards in my deck, Jeskai Ascendancy. David plays a tapped Overgrown Tomb and passes. Will plays an island, then he casts his commander, Xyris the Writhing Storm. It makes tokens when his opponents draw cards and lets them draw cards on combat damage. Jeff plays a Lava Claw Reaches, then he casts Titania Voice of Gaia. Moving to combat, he sends his commander at David unblocked. On attack, he returns a land to play and passes to me. I play a Plains, then I cast Talisman of Creativity. Triggering Jeskai Ascendancy, I'll draw a card and discard a card. Then I cast Kaikar Wind's Fury and pass the turn. David plays a Forest and passes. Will plays a Rockfall Veil. He sends his commander at me for 3 damage. I take it and we both draw 3 cards, giving him 3 snakes. After that, he casts Jessica's Will. He gets 6 red mana and exiles Tooth and Nail along with 2 lands. Then he casts Rhystic Study. After that, he casts Impact Tremors. Lastly, he foretells a card. The exile cards stay exiled and he passes from there. Jeff moves to combat, sending his commander at Will. With Windgrace's ability, he puts Will's Scalding Tarn into play. I believe Will blocked with a snake, so he should be down a snake right now. Jeff sacks the Crevice, gaining 2 life from Tatiana. Then he casts the Gitrog monster. Will responds to that by casting Mystic Reflection. He chooses one of his snakes to have the Gitrog monster enter as one of his snakes. Jeff passes to me from there, and I play an island to start. Then I cast Irenicus' Vow Duplication, triggering Jeskai Ascendancy, so I draw and discard and my creatures get +1/+1. With that, I make a copy of Kaikar. On cast, the OG Kaikar gives me a spirit token. I do pay for Rhystic Study. Then I cast Swiftfoot Boots, triggering Jeskai's Ascendancy again, paying for Rhystic Study by sacking a spirit. Every extra draw I take has the table losing 1 life from Impact Tremors. Moving to combat, I send my now 5/5 Kaikar at will in the air. Then I sacrifice a spirit to equip the boots to Kaikar and pass the turn. David casts Relic of Legends, then he'll cast General Ferris Rockerick, not paying for Rhystic Study. Will moves to combat, sending his Xyris at David. They both draw 3 cards and Will gets 3 snakes. Impact Tremors deals 3 damage to the table. Then Will plays Flooded Grove. After that, he casts Skull Clamp. He clamps a snake to draw 2 cards. Then he casts 3 visits. He'll tutor 4, a Breeding Pool, shocking it into play. Then he casts Spark Double, which enters as a clone of his commander. We all take our Impact Tremor damage and he passes the turn. Jeff casts Treasure Map. Then he activates it to scry 1. Moving to combat, he attacks Will with his commander, choosing to put Will's Wooded Foothills into play, and Will takes the damage. He'll pass the turn to me from there. I play a Sea of Clouds. Then I cast my commander, Narset Enlightened Exile, not paying for Rhystic Study. After that, I move the boots over to Narset. Then I cast Impulse. This triggers my Kaikar's Jeskai Ascendancy and my commander. I draw from Jeskai's Ascendancy, Will gets a snake, and Impact Tremor damage. Moving to combat, I send Narset at Jeff, and both Kaikars and a Spirit token at Will. With Narset's attack trigger, I cast the Jessica's Will that's in Will's graveyard. This triggers all of my stuff for more counters and more card draw. This is all during combat, by the way. Jeskai's Ascendancy untaps all my creatures. I'll remember to make my Kaikar spirits later. I get 10 mana and exile 3 cards. I'll cast Crimson Wisps from exile. My creatures get another +2/+2. I draw a card and discard from Jeskai. We all lose 2 from Impact Tremors. Kaikar gives me 2 more spirits. Then I cast Chaos Warp targeting Impact Tremors, getting another +2/+2. Drawing and discarding again, and losing life from the Impact Tremors I'm targeting. Will reveals a Reliquary Tower from the Chaos Warp and puts it into play. Will blocks 1 Kaikar with his Spark Double, then he'll take 20 damage, and Jeff blocks with a Snake token. From there, I pass the turn to David. David plays a Swamp, then he casts Traverse the Outlands. His creature has 3 power, so he fetches an island. a plains, and a mountain into play. Then he passes the turn over to Will. Will clamps the snake to draw 2 cards, then he plays Rejuvenating Springs. From there he casts Mystic Remora. Then he'll cast Beast Within, targeting Jeskai's Ascendancy. He destroys it and I get a 3/3 beast. After that he casts Propaganda, then he pays 1 for a Birds of Paradise and pass the turn. Jeff sacks 2 lands to fetch for a mountain and a forest. Then he cracks Arid Mesa to fetch for a Blood Crypt, which he puts into play untapped. From there, he cycles Degree of Pain, giving all creatures -2/-2 until end of turn. This destroys a good majority of the board. He moves to combat and sends his commander at me. I block with my beast token and he returns his Geothermal Crevice into play. Then he plays Gruul Turf, picking up a forest. Moving to his end step, David casts Dire Tactics, targeting one of my Kaikars. Will responds to that by casting Pongify, targeting my other Kaikar. I respond to that by casting Galadriel's Dismissal to phase out my original Kaikar. Will draws from Mystic Study and Mystic Remora. My Kaikar token is destroyed. I get 2 spirits from casting Galadriel's Dismissal, and I get an ape from the Pongify. I start my turn by casting Taunt from the Rampart, goading all my opponent's creatures and making it so creatures can't block. I'll make a spirit from that cast. All my creatures get +1/+1 from Narset. Then I cast Leap, targeting Narset. I make another spirit and give my creatures another +1/+1. I move to combat, sending Narset at will, with Kaikar and the 2 spirit tokens going at Jeff, and the ape token goes at David. With Narset's ability, I choose to cast Irenicus' Vow Duplication, and I pay the 2 mana to attack Will. Will is taken out of the game. Jeff takes 14 and David takes 6. From there, I pass the turn. David plays a Prayer Stream, then he casts his commander, Jodah the Unifier. After that, he casts Primeval's Glorious Rebirth. This triggers his commander, so he exiles from the top until he hits Helm of the Host. Then he returns General Ferrus Rakirik into play. After that, he'll cast Rograk, Son of Roga. With nothing to cascade into, he moves to his end step, where Jeff uses his treasure map to scry 1. He'll put that card on the bottom of his library. He moves to combat and sends everything at David. He returns Arid Mesa to the battlefield. Jeff uses treasure map to scry to the bottom. Then he flips treasure map to the land side. After that, he'll cast Blasphemous Act. He wipes the board of all creatures. Then he'll cast Oracle of Modiah. He plays Wooded Foothills, immediately cracking it for a forest. After that, he casts Atsushi the Blazing Sky, and from there he'll pass the turn over to me. Starting my turn, I'll recast Narset, then I pay 1 to equip her with some boots. After that, I play an island, then I cast Balmor Battlemage Captain. Moving to combat, I send Narset at Jeff. With Narset's attack trigger, I cast Leap from my graveyard, giving Narset flying and drawing a card. On cast, Narset gets +1/+1 and +1/+0 from Prowess and Balmor. Jeff doesn't block, so he takes 5 and I pass the turn. David recasts his commander, Jodah, then he equips him with the Helm of the Host. He moves to combat and Jodah gets a twin. He'll attack me with the twin, which I take, and he passes the turn. Jeff plays Boseiju Who Endures, then he cracks Arid Mesa. He fetches a commercial district into play. On ETB, he surveils to his graveyard. Then he casts Hull Breach, destroying my Swiftfoot Boots. After that, he'll cast Renin 6. He uses the +1 to return Wooded Foothills to play, which he cracks for an Underground Mortuary. Moving to combat, he sends the Atsushi at me for 4 damage in the air. Then he plays Dryad of the Elysian Grove and passes the turn. On my turn, I cast Solve the Equation. The card I search for is Snap. Then I cast Preordain. These casts trigger prowess so my creatures grow. After that, I cast Snap, returning the Dryad to Jeff's hand. I'll send my commander at Jeff and Balmor at David. On attack, I'll cast Snap from my graveyard, returning the Atsushi to Jeff's hand. Then Jeff responds by casting Assassin's Trophy, destroying my commander. I'll untap 2 lands and get a basic island into play. After that, I cast Whirlwind of Thought and pass the turn. Jeff casts Crop Rotation, sacrificing a land to tutor for a land. The land he gets is Valakut the Molten Pinnacle. Then he recasts Dryad, which makes all of his lands all land types. Then he'll cast Lord Windgrace. Using his -3, he returns 2 fetch lands to play, dealing 6 damage to me from Valakut. Cracking those 2 lands from there is enough to take me out of the game, and Jeff takes the win this week. Hope you enjoyed the gameplay this week. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you did, and peace out.